Okay, and welcome back. The website is eclectic, eccentric, unusual. halfpasthuman.com. And the information that George Ure and Clif High put out is extraordinary. The website cautions, don't panic. You have stumbled onto a half-past human. Your mind and sanity are at risk. Flee now before it is too late. And it is too late in some respects, but maybe not for everybody. Welcome back, Clif.
Thank you much.
How goes it?
Pretty good. Lots of data to gnaw on, so the universe is being cooperative that way.
Well, let's put our collective dentures in and go for it.
Okay, where do you want to start?
Well, the best place to start, they say, is at the beginning, but with you guys, you never know. We got October 7th rapidly sneaking up in the brush out there.
It's still lining up in the data. We're still getting supporting layers of aspects that roll in and align themselves on that date.
October 7th.
October 7th at 7:10 in the morning, universal time coordinate, which is really just Greenwich Meridian.
Now, this is odd because at this...
That's 3:10 in the morning on the East Coast and nearly in 10 minutes after midnight on the West Coast of the U.S. So we're not necessarily looking at something in the way of a major event per se, but you can imagine basically what's going to happen. It's a shift in language. Now, we do have a slight change. In
excuse me, Clif, one second, please. That's 10 minutes after midnight. That's early a.m. October 7th is what we're talking about then, correct?
Correct, right.
Okay, I just want to be sure on
just
that.
a few minutes before that, 11 minutes before that, it would have been late on the 6th, night of the 6th, correct.
All right, very good, thank you.
Okay, and what's going to happen is a shift from building tension language, which is where we're at now. And for instance, you can think of all the language that appeared in the media around the Georgia skirmish, if you will.
Sure.
And that was building tension. There were a few bits and pieces of release language when people were describing the horror of it all, the bombs falling and so on. But there was a lot of language about, will they, won't they, what's going to happen next, this kind of thing, more contributing towards the body feeling tense. And we're going to shift on October 7th into release language. We don't know what's going to do it, but we know that it's going to be composed of about more or less equal parts of economic and military component with a little tiny bit of what we call Terra, meaning the planet Earth, intruding. So we'll have a little bit of an emotional hangover, if you will, relating to some kind of planetary damage, might be from hurricanes up and down the East Coast, something along those lines that occur earlier.
But those are bit players to the main event, we think.
Apparently so. That's the way it looks at this point, is that they'll be contributing about 20% maximum to the shift. And what's really staggering to us about the shift is that it starts on the 7th and runs all the way through to the 19th of February, pretty much without let-up. And we've never seen anything like that before. We've had a reverse the situation where we had 72 days of building tension language that appeared on September 18th. We were late. We thought it would happen on September 19th of 2007 and related to the credit crisis. And we had that language tracked, and that was a 72-day uptick in language. Now we're going to get a nearly 5-month release flood, if you will.
And that's unprecedented in your research.
We've only been doing it since '97, so
it's not 11 years.
But it's not like we've got 30 or 40 years of real work behind us where we can say, that this is decidedly atypical.
It's still unprecedented. Now, how long a period of time has the emotional building anticipatory phase been underway, pointing toward October 7th?
Since about February 2nd or 3rd of this year.
That's a long haul, isn't it?
Long haul, as we're all aware of. We all feel tired just because of all the news about the politics and wars and all this other business, and then everyone trying to pull your chain about, that we're going to attack Iran. Oh, no, we're not going to attack Iran. Back and forth. And all since February, and of course everybody is feeling it, and they're expressing it now. We're starting to see the peak of that. The thing that has changed recently with our most current run is that we now show a plateau is reached on the 27th of September,
that's a lot. That could be a very stressful period of time then, that 10 days or 11 days.
We're calling it's a collective intake. Sort of everybody's going to go gasp and hold their breath, we think.
For 10 days.
Metaphorically.
Understand.
Correct.
Well, that'd be a long, that would take care of the planetary population overload.
There you go, yeah. As well as get rid of a lot of blowhards and a lot of gas. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, now, for those of you who don't know, again, George and Clif being the computer programmer, George being the economics expert, the economist of the team, they mine the Internet with Clif's software, sending out thousands upon thousands of little, what do you call them?
Spiders.
Spiders, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Spiders with a Y. To crawl through selected forums or fora in the plural to look for changes in language being used by random people all over the globe. And that change in random language, in this particular case that we're talking about now, has been pointing since last February to October 7th at 7:10 Greenwich Mean Time, and that's around 12:10 Pacific Standard Time. Or is it daylight time?
Daylight time, yes, because we're in daylight saving.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's coming up on October 7th. But again, and I don't mean to belabor the point, but apparently for a period of 10 days before the 7th, there's kind of a plateau, as he said, a stasis, as it were, of tension, just constant, and then the release language goes. But it runs for 5 months, and release language doesn't usually do that.
No. Usually it's a stair step. It looks like our graphs. It looks like sharp teeth, up and down, very irregular, and to a certain extent, while there may be patterns in there, they're much more complex. Mm-hmm. And here we've just got this big slide down. It kind of looks like you're going down the Rockies and you see those signs that says steep grade ahead, and they show the semi-truck on the very steep grade. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what we're looking at, yeah.
But 5 months?
Yeah, it's very atypical. I have no way of accounting for it. I can postulate, we can speculate all over, but, something that is going to unfold for a period of 5 months. Now, we do have specifics about confusion around the elections, right? And we've had that for some time. Even back in November of last year and October of last year, we were picking up language that suggested confusion and discord and upset and that kind of aspects relative to the election, such that maybe there would be a situation where everybody would say, okay, we know who's going to win because of what's just occurred, and let's just have an election and get it over with. It's not an issue anymore.
Well, this is interesting because the inauguration is January 20th of 2009, and the release language runs into early February, which suggests that it might be linked. But you're again getting 40% political, 40% military, 20% terra indicated.
Yeah, well, it's actually economic and military, and the political is all bound up in there. Our problem with the political, and especially relating to elections, is that all the language is hot. There's very little nuance, very little shading to go look for, so we have to make certain assumptions on a less than robust data pattern. The economics, on the other hand, is quite clear. And the military at this stage also appears to be quite clear in the sense that it appears that there's going to be a series of mistakes and errors made that will complicate everybody's military situation. Now, bear in mind, we were off by a day on our Musharraf retires prediction, and we were 5 months out on that.
Okay, now, hold on. For those of you, again, what George is saying and Clif is saying directly here, the two of them, Clif is saying that 5 months ago they projected that Musharraf would step down, resign, or otherwise be removed from office on a specific date. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we were just off by a day instead of the 18th. Again, we predicted the 19th, that sort of a deal. So, but that same data set that yielded those results more or less got us to this point where we're looking at this 40 to 50% military, something slightly under that, say in the upper 30s economic, and then the last little bit hung over from the from Earth intrusions. But the economic was key to us at that point because we could really imagine that there would be, as George calls them, the mother of all crashes, and that would set up a situation where everybody was quite fretful about their future livelihood, etc., and that brings to us to the release language.
Well, most interesting. We won't have long to wait, and in fact, Clif will be back here on October the 6th, the evening of, about 3 hours before 12:10 a.m. of October 7th. Well, we'll see. And we have to bring him back the next night, too.